Penguin Random House Audio presents The Earthquake Bird by Susanna Jones. Read for you by Kirsty Ryder.
Chapter 1. Early this morning, several hours before my arrest, I was woken by an earth tremor. I mentioned the incident not to suggest that there was a connection, that somehow the fault lines in my life came crashing together in the form of a couple of policemen. For in Tokyo, we have a quake like this every month or so, sometimes more, and this morning's was nothing special. I'm simply relating the sequence of events as it happened. It has been an unusual day, and I would hate to forget anything. I was between the covers of my futon, in a deep sleep. I woke to hear my clothes hangers hitting the sides of the wardrobe. Plates in the kitchen rattled, and the floor creaked. The rocking made me nauseous, but despite that, I hadn't realized why I was moving. It was only when, from outside, the familiar sound reached my ears that I understood. A tinny voice croaked in the wind from far away. I sat up in the dark, shivering. Since Lily's death and Teiji's disappearance, I have become nervous about many things. I pulled the wardrobe door open and crept beneath the clattering coat hangers. I put on my cycling helmet, reached for the torch that I keep taped to the wall, and crouched in the corner. I shone the light around to check that my whistle and bottle of earthquake water were with me. They were. A cockroach ran across my bare leg and settled on the floor beside me. "Go away," I whispered. "Get out. Do you hear me? I don't want you here." The cockroach's black feelers shifted slightly in my direction. Then it shimmered away and disappeared through an invisible crack in the wall. It was some moments before I realized that the cupboard was still. The earthquake had stopped. The night was quiet. I crawled back into the warmth of my futon, but couldn't sleep. I knew now I was not alone in my flat. I pulled my pillow under my face and curled up on my side. I have many tricks to deal with the problems of ghosts and insomnia. One of them is to test my Japanese. I took the word for earthquake, jishin, and tried to think of words with the same pronunciation but different characters, putting together ji, meaning self, and shin, which means trust, produces confidence. With other written characters, an earthquake can become an hour hand, a magnetic needle, or be simply oneself, myself. Here I ran out of ideas. There must be more words, but I could think of none. I would normally be able to count 7 or 8 words before dropping off, but this morning my game wasn't working. I tried another strategy. I imagined Teiji was behind me, circling me with his twiggish arms, rocking me to sleep, as he had done in the happy days when we slept together like spoons. We both loved earthquakes then, as much as we loved thunderstorms and typhoons. I felt comforted by the memory, and I may have dozed off for half an hour or so. When I awoke again, the room was light. I folded my futon and kicked it into the cupboard. I grabbed a packet of instant noodles for my lunch and drank a quick cup of tea. At 7 o'clock, I set off for work, feeling no more tired, no worse than I have felt for the last few weeks. I expected a normal day at my office. The police came for me in the afternoon. I was at my desk, working on a translation of a new design of bicycle pump. I was concentrating hard and didn't notice the arrival of my visitors. The work was not particularly difficult. My job is to translate tedious technical documents, and I do it very well. But it took my mind off recent, disastrous events. I became aware that my colleagues had stopped working and were looking in the direction of the door. I raised my head. 2 policemen stood in the entrance. I wasn't surprised. I'm sure no one was. My co-workers looked from the police to me and back again. To be arrested in the middle of the office in front of an unsupportive audience was a degradation I didn't want. I leapt from my seat, hoping to preempt the police officer's strike. "It's for me," I muttered. "I think they just want to ask some more questions. No big deal." And before I could cross the room, "Miss Fly, we're taking you to the police station for questioning in connection with the disappearance of Lily Bridges. Bring your alien registration card." I stood before the two dark blue uniforms and tried to edge them toward the door. It's in my pocket. I never go anywhere without it. But I've already answered a lot of questions. I can't imagine I have anything else to tell you. There are new developments. We'd like you to come with us down to the car. I was nervous. There was only one potential development that I could think of, but I didn't dare ask my question. Had they found the missing parts of Lily's body? By now, the disparate pieces may have been washed ashore with the tide, or caught in nets by the night fishermen. Perhaps the police had been able to put her back together again and make an official identification. That would be a formality. According to the newspapers, the police knew they'd found Lily. Nothing has been the same in the office since that morning a couple of weeks ago when someone brought in the daily Yomiuri and passed it quietly from desk to desk until, by the afternoon, it had reached mine. The headline announced, "Woman's torso recovered from Tokyo Bay. Believed to be missing British bartender Lily Bridges." And no one would look at me after that. Not properly. I don't know whether they thought I was a murderer, or whether the whole horror of Lily's death had left them too embarrassed to talk to me. The police led me out of the room, as if I didn't know the way, and down to the car on the street. I didn't look up. I knew my colleagues were watching from the window, but there was no need to wave them goodbye. I shouldn't think we'll meet again. I shall miss one of them, my friend, Natsuko. She wanted to believe in me, but the headline was too much even for her, and she has deserted me. My own reaction to the news story was that Lily wouldn't have approved of the wording, brief though it was. She was a bartender only in Japan. At home, in Hull, she had been a nurse. She was a fine nurse, as I discovered on our hike in Yamanashi-ken when I slipped and fell on the mountainside. She led me down and bandaged my ankle with such efficient compassion that I almost cried. But in the bar, she was clumsy and meek. Her voice was so high and whiny, it made people want to jump behind the bar and get their own drinks. The bar job was only intended to be temporary. But now, Lily's dead, and I'm in a police station. It is my first brush with the Japanese legal system, apart from a few avuncular questions when Lily first disappeared. I'm not sure what they want from me this time, but it seems serious. I'm sitting on a bench in a corridor. The men who brought me here have gone away, and there are two policemen fussing around nearby. An old fat one and a young thin one. The fat one is persuading the thin one to speak English to me to find out whether or not I can speak Japanese. I have not bothered to tell them that my Japanese is fluent, that indeed I am a professional translator. It is a fact they should know, if they know anything at all. They have reached an agreement. The thin one faces me. "Hello. I'm going to be the interpreter." His English is slow, hesitant. "Hello. Could you please tell me your full name?" It's on my alien registration card. I gave it to someone before. This information is imparted to the other officer in Japanese. The reply comes back in Japanese, then English. "It is not my job to know what happened to your alien registration card. Your full name." Lucy Fly. The fat one knits his brow. "Lucy Fry," I say, making an effort to be cooperative. When the police questioned me before, my friend Bob warned that I should try to act normal, although it goes against my nature, and I will be as obliging as I can. "I'm 34 years old." He doesn't respond. "I was born in the year of the snake, in fact." "And you work in Tokyo, in Shibuya?" the old fat policeman says in Japanese. When it's relayed into English, I reply, "That's right." "Company name?" Again, I wait for the translation before I answer. "Sasagawa." "You're an editor there." My young, thin friend obediently conveys this to me. A translator, Japanese to English. I expect the coin to drop, but it doesn't. "How long have you worked there?" About 4 years. So you...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?